count me down, and I'll just slide it down for you. So whenever you're ready, Terry. 3, 2, 1, go ahead.
Good afternoon, everyone. This is Terry Healy, bringing you some extraordinary transformation. Today's show is brought to you by Ryan Everhart from Diamond Residential Mortgage. Diamond, and Ryan especially, brings an unparalleled level of knowledge and service to his clients. He knows what it feels like to get a mortgage. He knows it's stressful, and he also wants to make sure that his clients are informed so that they can make the best decisions for themselves and their families and their pocketbooks. Don't assume that all mortgage people are equal. Diamond is located on Route 30 at 350 Northland Drive in Valparaiso. You can reach Ryan directly. His number is area code 219-707-8429. Thank you for joining in. You were listening to WVLP 103.1 FM, live streaming on WVLP.org. Today I have the privilege of welcoming a local musician and artisan. His name is Frank Ruvoli. His name kept cropping up a little bit, and I kept seeing that he was doing local events in the region, and one day when I had nothing else to do, I figured I would stop by and hear what he had to offer. What a treat. What a pleasure. As I was sitting and I was listening to him, I thought, what a tremendous talent there. And sometimes we get the opportunity to listen to musicians, and we know that there's some raw-based talent, and that's what I felt with Frank. And I had also the chance to scroll through and see a little bit of his backstory on Facebook, and I'm wondering, can you share a little bit about what led you to where you are now, Frank?
Yeah, so I was a baseball player for pretty much my whole life, and played locally at Lake Central, played numerous travel teams, all that stuff, and went to college. I went to Wabash College. I was going to play baseball there, and my freshman year I ended up tearing my lat muscle, which was right under my armpit here. Yeah. And I thought it was my rotator cuff, which was awful. So I was out the rest of that year, tried to rehab that summer, and came back my sophomore year, and it was still bothering me just through the fall. So I knew I wasn't going to be able to play baseball anymore. So I hung it up from there, and I found the guitar. One of my fraternity brothers, I was in fraternity Phi Kappa Psi at Wabash, and my fraternity brother Billy Rawson, who now lives in China, which is pretty cool, he was selling his guitar, and I used to go in there and kind of just strum, not knowing what I was doing, probably bothering him. That's probably why he offered to sell it. So I bought it from him, and then from there I just started learning music off YouTube, just learning covers and things like that. And the first song I ever learned was Daughtry, Home by Daughtry, and I just started growing from there. And then before you know it, I was writing songs, and then I wanted to play out, and definitely spiraled into something that I never thought was going to happen. But
right. I love when that kind of stuff happens. You know what, I have to tell you, I had an opportunity to talk to Frank before we decided to sit down and do radio today. And my question was there any kind of a tickling, as he was a young fella, that there was any kind of a leaning toward music? And he had told me no. So I'm curious, as you started launch into what you're doing musically, were your parents surprised, or did they say, well, we kind of had a feeling about that?
No, I think they're definitely surprised that I went into music. Mm-hmm. But I think the thing that's remained true is I always like to kind of stand out and kind of put myself in front of people,
right?
And make people laugh and entertain people. So I don't think that's been a surprise.
Right.
I think it's just kind of music has been the surprise.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a surprise to me too. So.
Well, we're going to get an opportunity to hear Frank today, and I've asked him to kind of do some of his original stuff. That's what we'd like to hear, and I think that's the rare gift. A lot of times what I find, and this is just somebody who likes to listen to music, is when somebody goes off and does their own original piece, things feel a little awkward, feel a little strained, and I kind of tell you that I did not feel that way when listening to Frank, and I don't think you're going to experience that as well, those of you listening today, so we're really going to enjoy it. Also, too, what was interesting, and I didn't make the connection until I met with Frank, was that he also started a record label.
Yeah.
Can you tell me about that?
Yeah, so it's Fire Tree Records, and that's really, it was started as the business behind my music. So I keep track of all those records and have my own business, of course, for my music. But I made it a record label because I wanted to help other artists that are, going along. I actually just had this conversation with a friend of mine, Jack Whittle, who's a great blues musician in the area. We were saying how, we have a lot of great talent in the area, and we're all separately doing it ourselves. So if we can find a spot where, an example, what I hope Fire Tree Records becomes a spot where if you want to know where when a local artist is releasing an EP or album or something that's yet to come, or who just released an album. You can go to Fire Tree Records and boom, you see 3 artists that just released albums locally, and you know, you can get your purchase it there, see what they're doing there, and then kind of from there it spreads out to all the other artists' websites and stuff like that. But we really need a central location where, you know, we can put all the talent together, so it's almost like a, I don't know, a home, I guess.
Right.
So then everybody can then expand out. I think I mentioned to you, I felt like Northwest Indiana is the Seattle of the 90s,
Yeah.
when it was Soundgarden and Pearl Jam and Nirvana. We have that type of talent in the area, and it's really just, it's you made a great metaphor. It's almost bubbling, and it's waiting to boil out. Somebody's going to burst.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and I think when I made that metaphor, I was talking about you. So I don't feel that way of everybody, but
Yeah.
I have to tell you, when you describe all this with a record label, what occurs to me is how altruistic that is. You know, how you know, how all of us, I guess, collectively are more self-serving. You know,
Mhm.
looking at how do we make it happen for ourselves, how do we launch, that sort of thing. And to create a record label and say that you want to create a space and a home for other gifted artists is, you know, a very selfless act.
Mhm.
Do you acknowledge that about yourself, or do people acknowledge that about you?
Maybe. Yeah.
Okay. Well, maybe
Yeah.
we do. We
Yeah.
just don't tell you.
Yeah.
What a great thing.
Yeah.
Are you able? Have you found a lot of traction with that label then?
Yeah, so I actually just started actively trying to get other people. So last year I really just wanted to focus on trying to expand kind of my artist, you know, as shows, a new EP and or album, I'm sorry, and I wanted to have some sort of groundwork behind myself. So when I go and talk to my local musician friends, I can say, hey, listen, here's what I do. You know, is this what you need help with? And the way I really throw it out is just, hey, let me know what you need help with, and I can help you with that. And in turn, let's just kind of get all together on the label.
Wow. Wow.
So it's definitely not kind of, as of right now, it's not a traditional thing where I'm like, you know, I'm going to basically run your life and take your copyrights, things like that. It's
Right.
not meant to be like that, because we have a good group of musicians in the area, and really we've all come in contact with each other in one way or another, and we're all friends. So I really just want a spot where we can all centralize and then grow from there.
How would somebody find you if they're just not familiar with what you're up to with the record station?
You can go to firetreerecords.com, which actually I think I got to get the website back up. I think it's down right now, but we do have a Facebook page, Fire Tree Records, on Facebook, or you can contact me directly at frankruvolimusic.com, and Fire Tree Records at gmail.com is listed at the bottom of the website
Wonderful.
for contact
Wonderful.
information.
Do you feel like you've kind of touched everybody in the area, or do you feel like there's still room to roam with that?
In terms of the record label?
Yeah, in terms of the record
Yeah, there's
label.
still room to roam. So I just actually started talking to some of my friends about getting on there and get moving. Some of the guys who I know, guys and girls who I know well, that know I have good intentions. I wanted to start there so we can kind of get the ball rolling, and then from there I'll go and if I haven't heard from anybody, I'll seek other people out more actively that I don't know, so they kind of see what we've already done and know it's all for good intentions.
Got it. Okay.
So.
Well, that's wonderful stuff. I want to revisit that too, but I do want to take some time. I'd like to listen to something that you'd like to provide for us today.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
And we'll let you get set up there a little bit, but I'd like to also see if we can get a little bit of background as far as not just the name of the piece that you'll be playing, but if you can give us some story, something to sink our teeth into, so we can see where it's all came, what it came from, what was the inspiration to it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I got to first play a song called Monkey Call.
Okay.
And this is, I got to shout out Luciano here if he's still listening. He's a friend of mine. And as you know, I'm also in real estate, and he's
Yeah.
actually a realtor in our office. And
Oh.
he loves my music, and he messaged on Facebook today. He said, you better play Monkey Call.
Well,
So
hi, Luciano. I hope you're not out there showing homes.
yeah, so I told him I'd shout him out. So this is
Nice.
Monkey Call, and this is the first song off my latest release called Dreamers. And it's actually a song about attraction. It's a real kind of sexy song, I guess.
Nice.
So that's really what it is. It's just you see, that sexual attraction, I guess. That's what it comes down to.
Got it.
So, all right. Make sure I'm not blowing it out. Ready? The monkey in my mind is jumping right on to me. The thought of me being that boy that's gonna get over it. Go ahead now. From the moment that I saw you, I was wishing I could
It's kind of different just doing it. I feel like I need to applaud, but it would just be me. But what a great
That's all right. Hopefully they're applauding out there.
Yeah, I think that they probably
right.
probably get a little thumbs up.
I think my mom's watching or listening. I hope
she is.
Maybe she didn't know the meaning behind that song, but there you go,
Mom.
Mom.
No, she
That's what I'm singing about.
Right. Well, good stuff. They wanted to thank Frank Ruvoli. He's our guest today, and you're listening to WVLP 103.1 FM, also streaming live on WVLP.org. Frank Ruvoli is a local musician. He plays around the region, and I also called him a visionary when I was promoting the show because I saw something a little bit deeper than what he's presenting, and it's probably just stuff waiting to come to fruition for him, is what I'm hoping.
I appreciate that.
So, just curious, where are you playing locally now?
So all over. This Friday, or actually this Wednesday, I host an open mic every other Wednesday at Pock Row Brewing in Griffith, so I will be there. And then Friday, the 30th, I will be at Goodfellas in Cedar Lake.
Yeah,
great spot, great stage.
Yeah,
always a good time over there. So
no dancing at Goodfellas though. That's the catch. Got to talk to the owner there.
Yeah, is there?
No, there's not.
People have danced before.
Oh, do they? Because you just good at
Guess
the table and go do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, wonderful. And did you ever go outside of the region, or is it just kind of where you've been laying your footprint?
No, I have. It basically in the nicer months.
Yeah.
I try to get out a little bit. So I've gone to colleges around the area. I think the farthest I've gone has been I played a show in St. Louis before.
Oh, wonderful.
I played in Chicago, played in Michigan a few times, in St. Joe's and Holland, Benton Harbor up there,
right.
And then kind of hit some of the colleges a little south, like Indiana State, Wabash, DePaul. I played there.
Nice.
Yeah, I think so. I have a nice little circle that I go, but in the winter, I'm a big fan of driving in the snow.
Right.
So I don't want to run into that issue in the winter, so I stay local.
Right, got it. Makes sense.
Yeah.
Are you open to exploring outside the footprint?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, wonderful.
Yeah.
If somebody wanted to engage you for that, how would they find you to do that?
FrankRuvolimusic.com. Ruvoli spelled R-U-V as in Victor, O-L-I, and contact me and we could talk. I'd love any opportunities.
Okay, wonderful. Well, and we won't be constrained to the seasons because there's always other modes of transportation.
Right.
So,
Always.
let you go places that you can drive and fly and that sort of thing. So I kind of want to go back. I want to go really kind of working at that radio station is where, I'm sorry, your not your radio station, your record label.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry. And, this is my third show, so I'm still a bit nervous on the mic. But
You're doing awesome.
Thank you very much. So your record label, I think when you told me about that, it's not something that hit the radar when I was kind of just scoping you out and seeing what you were about.
Mm-hmm.
But my sense was that could actually be something a little bit bigger than something that serves our region, the artists in our region.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. I would love that for that to happen. I mean, the main thing is, I think we're overlooked in our area, and as I said, there's such a great pool of talent that I would really love to let that shine. But yeah, I mean, if it could grow huge, I would love that too.
Why do you think we're overlooked in the region? Where's that coming from?
Well, I think I like to say we're in the shadow of the city.
Okay.
So Chicago, there's a lot of stuff going on up there. A lot of people, if anybody ever hears you and they think I'm not the only one that has experienced this, but if people think you're good or have some talent, they'll tell you what you need to move to Nashville, or you need to move to LA, or you need to move to New York. But the fact is that there's so many people that go there, and it's overpopulated. Some good advice I've got, and I think I mentioned to you that I'm a huge Dave Matthews fan,
Mm-hmm.
and I didn't become a Dave Matthews fan until I started playing guitar and kind of learning the business behind music. But they started in Charlottesville, Virginia, and I mean, you've never heard really anybody come out of there except for Dave Matthews Band. And if you go back to their earliest stuff, like their documentaries and stuff, they kind of say how, it's a college town, and there was just so many great musicians there It was just waiting for kind of somebody to take them out and somebody to explode, and luckily they were the ones that did. But I think we're overlooked in a way because everybody thinks you should go and travel to a city. You should almost get out of the like an area like ours and go to Chicago or go to Nashville or go to LA, where some good advice I got is if you're good, you should be able to get the backing of your hometown, your area, and from there you should be able to grow from there. And so luckily for me, I feel like myself and some of the other people have gotten some great support from our area, and we continue to expand out. And I think that's a great way to do it because you can easily get lost somewhere else, especially with people you don't know.
Right.
You know, so
is that typically how it's done organically? Is that you find that name for yourself locally and then move from there?
yes, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So let me ask you a question, just something that crossed my mind as you were describing that whole Nashville conversation. I do understand that probably that it's saturated because once the buzz is out, everybody's already there.
Right.
Is it possible to create that in Northwest Indiana?
I would love to. Yeah, I mean and I've got so many drawings on paper that I do, but to me, I feel like there's a music ecosystem, right? So a place like you have to have your musicians, you have to have your radio stations like WVLP that brings local musicians on and kind of lets us shine a little bit. You need your press, you need all that stuff, and I actually feel like it's starting to grow a lot. You're starting to see a lot more music venues in the area, a lot more bars, restaurants, with the breweries that have been popping up all over the place. They're a big thing with music, and so it's really starting to become a hotbed, and I hope it continues to grow forward.
Yeah.
So, and one of the things that we need is a label, a centralized hub in that sense, and I feel like that's one of the things that's missing. That's why I like to put my hand in the pot for that.
Well, why don't you create it? Why not step in and say that's something you're going to take on?
Yeah, well, that's what I'm trying to do with Fire Tree Records. Yeah.
Right.
So.
Got it. Wouldn't it be incredible? Like, wouldn't that be awesome to have our region become the next Nashville? In a place for artists to launch from. That'd just be incredible. You definitely though have all the equipment needed to do that as who you are and how you promote and all the great stuff that you bring to the table to actually step in and create something that doesn't exist. I can tell you that. Yeah, that's clear. So
thank you.
yeah, let's see where that goes with you. You got so much going on. Yeah. I also, when you'd spoken with me before about Fire Tree Records, is that I really clearly got a sense that it could be something global. And I just kind of, when you were describing the impetus behind it, the thought, the commitment, was again partially because it's not self-serving, but then also partially about what you bring to the table with everything you do. Is I just kind of went kablooey, get your passport because this is obviously not something that's just needed out here or even across the U.S. Had you had that vision before of maybe doing something that large?
Yeah. I mean, that would be awesome. I think I would love that. I would be down for it. Right. Kind of the thing that really got me going in that kind of capacity was I'm a big fan of watching documentaries that probably nobody's seen on YouTube.
Okay.
And so I'll look up like old record labels, and they have a lot of cool documentaries on record labels that started a scene in their area, which then kind of like I was talking about, the whole ecosystem was able to grow a couple artists or bands to become national acts or international acts, and kind of had its peak and then its downfall. But it's cool because they have kind of a mark in history where these people started this record label and then these artists were all a part of it. I mean, if you think of, this is kind of different, but what was it, CBGB out in New York? It was that venue where he was just letting all kinds of people play that couldn't get places to play anywhere else, and then most of the artists ended up getting signed and became famous. So it's just cool things like that, in my opinion, that if you can help launch a movement, almost a sense, kind of something you're passionate about, that's cool. Like I said, even if it's not me, if I'm not the one that becomes the national act or the international act, it's cool that I think I can look back and be like, well, wow, I was able to help my friends go forward because it's something that they needed help with. So.
Well, I could definitely see you being the facilitator for that, without question, and then of course doing something in and of your own right. That's clear to me.
Thank you.
And I don't necessarily have that vision or that insight with everybody I meet, so that was kind of a weird thing, and why I wanted to invite you on and see what else you could share. Do you know of any place locally that would be open to creating that with you? Like a venue where you could just have a steady stream of the local talent coming through and starting that movement?
Yeah, I got to say, I think a lot of the venues have been great lately. And by lately, I mean for the few years I've been doing this and playing locally, I've seen it grow and grow and grow. So, there's a few that stick out to me that I know would, completely be in. But I say that only because I talk to these guys a lot more than some others. So I don't want to single anybody out because I feel like restaurant owners, bar owners, these brewery owners, they're really pumping up the live music and the local talent. So I think that it's in a really good spot right now, and I hope it continues to move forward.
Yeah, you know what? I think it's going to, and kind of my experience is that there's like a pent up demand, and almost like we didn't even know that we were demanding it, but we are. So even like in the middle of the week is how I found you. What a great thing that is. Last night I was somewhere locally hearing some music on a Sunday afternoon. What a fantastic opportunity, to have that. And I think we are going to start to spill more over into the regular work a day, versus the weekend. What I'm finding is there's just so much to do, and sometimes it's hard to pick and choose where you're going to go, who you're going to go see. There is an absolutely incredible Facebook page. I know that you've got affiliation with it as well. It's called Rock and Rollers. Rock and then the N and then Rollers, and created by this fantastic lady named Charlotte, who I hope to interview in the future as well.
She's awesome. I just saw her this weekend.
Did you really? Where were you?
She was at Caught on Klein's CD release party.
Yeah, I saw that, but I had somewhere else to go.
Yeah.
So
all kinds of stuff to do.
Just a generous supporter of local music, because what she does is she allows local musicians to post where they're going to be playing out, and all the details about it, and then I kind of get excited because on a Friday morning or a Saturday morning I open up my email and there's just a stream of opportunity there. So what I found is, thank God I'm flexible, because I'll just change it up on a dime. It's going to go all this way, and I'm going to go head east.
Yeah.
So great stuff, and thank you to Charlotte for that, for creating that page and for supporting, and the work that's involved with her to do that is amazing. So that, and actually, honestly, that's how I found you.
Really?
Yeah,
I
exactly.
remember you saying that.
Yeah, because you kept rolling up, and I thought, well, about the fourth or fifth time, it's like, I think I'm going to go, hear what this guy's about. So
if Charlotte says go, you must go.
Yeah.
Right?
That's right. Yeah.
She kept putting me up there.
Yeah, exactly. Subliminally.
Yeah.
Charlotte was going, Terry, go talk to Frank. Go meet Frank. So that's wonderful stuff. So you also mentioned that you saw real estate. What that was kind of interesting when I saw that.
Yeah.
And I guess it's in keeping with your entrepreneurial spirit. Makes sense. And how long have you been doing that?
So I got licensed last July.
Oh, wow, that's still pretty new stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Love it. And what franchise are you working under?
I'm a Central 21 affiliated at Crown Point.
Wonderful. A lot of nice brand name there.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Yeah, and we've got a great office too.
Yeah.
So great, and by that I mean great people.
Yeah.
Very helpful. Yeah,
that's a treat. Well, that's wonderful. Wonderful. What led you to real estate, just out of curiosity?
Yeah, I've always been interested in real estate. I actually wanted to get my license in college, my senior year, and see if I could, sell a couple homes and start paying off my student loans. But my senior year of college was my schedule was pretty easy. So then I ended up kind of just thinking, well, I'm going to be working here in a year or so.
Right.
I'll just relax and have a good time with my friends. So that's what I did.
Well, it's good that you got that. We probably needed to catch your breath because you're going to be moving and shaking and need the energy, is what it says.
Yeah.
So just to tell people, in case you didn't connect the dots from A to B, Frank has given us really good insight as to who he is as a person. We've had the opportunity to just touch his music, but if you listen closely, what you'll hear is who he is in regards to his record label. And when he talks about being selfless, that's what I'm hearing. What you also know is that's going to translate into every area of his life. So if you do need a realtor, this would be probably a pretty wonderful person to be in the care of. And I speak that as somebody in the industry as well. It's a rare gift. And how could someone contact you if they're interested in having you show them homes or list their home?
You can contact me at frank.ruvoli@gmail.com.
Wonderful,
So,
wonderful.
yeah.
Well, good.
Or on my Facebook page as well. Sorry, Frank Ruvoli, real estate.
Oh, gotcha. Okay,
Mhm.
got it. So anybody out there, feel free to reach out to Frank, and I think you make that connection, make that A to B connection. There's some value there. So I'd like to go into another musical item if you're open to that.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you could share what you'll play and kind of the backstory.
Yeah, so I'm going to play another one. I have to give another shout out. I'm going to play You're My Love. This is another one off my last release called Dreamers. And I have to shout out Bill and Karen Koch, who you might have met here at WVLP. They do under the radar sports.
Oh,
Well,
no,
Bill
not
does.
yet.
Bill does.
Oh, okay.
But this is Karen's favorite song.
Okay.
So I have to give her a shout out. And this is just a song about, sometimes when you're down and out, or when you are down and out, sometimes if you just go into that one person's arms that's close to you, like a hug, you just break down and kind of all that stuff relieves you, all that stress goes away. So that's actually what is the theory behind, or the idea behind, especially the chorus, but kind of branched out from there. So. You stole my heart like an invisible thief. I tried to resist, but I did not succeed. You look down deep into my soul. You know me better than anyone could ever know. Hey! Won't you hold me tight within yours? 'Cause I just wanna be close to your heart. You're my love. You're my love. You give me more than I could ever ask. And I know you don't care for any of it back. A golden heart is what you will hold. And like a miner with his prize, I will never let you go. Won't you hold me tight within yours? 'Cause I just wanna be close to your heart. Won't you hold me tight within yours? 'Cause I just wanna be close to your heart. You're my love. You're my love. You're my love. You're my love.
Thank you. I like that one.
Thank you very much.
Well, and if I'm keeping a tally and voting, I'm going to say the Monkey one's probably my favorite one so far.
Yeah, I love that song too.
Yeah,
I love them all, but
yeah.
Monkey's fun to play.
Right. So you are listening to WVLP 103.1 FM, also live streaming on WVLP.org. And we today are talking with Mr. Frank Ruvoli. He is a local musician, an artisan, a visionary, and also a local realtor. So that's probably contributes to how he's making his donuts, as I affectionately say. So just wanted to know, what is it that you are visioning for yourself by the end of 2018? Do you have anything in mind, any goals out there?
Yeah, definitely want to be, well, it's kind of a weird goal, but my goal is to be kind of everywhere. And by that I mean marketing-wise. I'm a big fan of marketing. I've worked in marketing. I even do freelance marketing right now. And I kind of think I want to focus more energy on marketing, whether that be on everything with Fire Tree or even my music, especially real estate. I also do baseball, softball coaching. I'm kind of all over the place, but
wow.
Yeah. So just kind of so for the fact that I already am in a few different, 3 different industries, doing different stuff, I kind of like to grow the brand of all that, and that's definitely what I want to do in 2018. Music specifically, definitely want to grow. I think I told you I play with my buddy Brian Mundy, who's my lead guitarist. He's awesome, so we do an acoustic duo a lot. We just play it on Friday at 9585 together. Brian and I have been playing for the last 4 years, I believe. Pretty much ever since I started. Him and I ran into each other at an open mic and started playing. And it's a small world because he actually grew up with my cousins, and he was friends with my brother-in-law. So I kept hearing about Brian Mundy.
Right.
And then we ended up running into each other at JJ Kelly's on a Thursday open mic.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, hey, man, well, why don't you come up and play? I've heard all about you. And he's like, all right. So I'm like, hey, do you know any Dave Matthews? Because that's what I was working on at the time. That was when I was still new. And he's like, oh, of course I do. So we started playing it, and it just hit like that. And we're a match made in heaven, I'd say.
Right.
But
wow.
yes.
So you've been doing that with him, I'm sorry, for 4 years then?
I believe so, yeah. It was pretty much as soon as I started playing out, that's when I ran into him, not too far after that. And, every chance we get, we try to do an acoustic duo show rather than just solo, because we like it a lot better. And so back to the goals for 2018, him and I have a good friend of ours who's a drummer, and we really want to get a full band going. So we've done some band stuff before, kind of more acoustic trio stuff.
Yeah.
But we definitely want that big sound, and we've been talking about it the last couple of weeks, and hopefully this is going to trickle over and start moving towards a full band, which would be great.
That would be absolutely amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, in my world there are no accidents. So the fact that you ran into him there's bigger things in store.
Yeah.
So I love the idea of the full band.
Yeah, me too.
Wow. And that, kind of from my vantage point, it's almost like look at all of the tread that you've made, all the inroads that you have, all the people that know you and know what you bring to the table just in and of yourself. What an opportunity that is, just to manage to go, wow, look what I'm doing now.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Fantastic. Can you see that the band actually coming to, I don't know how long it takes to do that, but to come into fruition by the end of 2018?
Yeah, I can. Yeah, and we talked about it, and we're kind of trying to shoot for maybe scheduling something in 2 months, our first full band show, just so it really puts us in a position to practice and get going and make sure we put all our ducks in a row.
Sure.
So I'll kind of set that deadline.
Got it.
But what's cool, if you don't mind, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, go ahead.
But one thing that pops into my mind, kind of you saying all the traction I've made in the last couple of years, it brings me back to, I go back to watching documentaries and stuff, but there's a documentary about the Improv on Netflix a couple of years ago.
Okay.
And if you don't know what the Improv is, that's the comedy, I think they have one in New York and LA, if I'm not mistaken, but it's the improv stage. It's been guests to young Jimmy Fallon, Seinfeld, Jay Leno, all that stuff. But I only remember one quote from that, and it was Jay Leno said it to somebody. I don't remember if it was Fallon or Seinfeld, and he said the improv is your 4 years of college of hard knocks.
Okay.
He goes, you're not going to be famous unless you can make it on the improv. And so I feel like all the work that myself and Brian and all the other musicians have been doing the last few years, and it's starting to really grow, it's been like our college of hard knocks in the area of learning who we are and who we are as artists, how we can manage to make this a livable business. And it's kind of like, it's really weird because as of late, and especially after talking to you when we went out to coffee, I feel like it is trickling over. And I was just thinking back, and I'm like, man, it's been 4 years. Isn't that crazy? How it seems like things move in 4 years in my life. I don't know. It's like every 4 years something cool happens.
Well, that's wonderful.
So I don't know.
Yeah, there's some things that subscribe to a 7-year cycle, so you're a little bit on the quicker tread to it. That's fantastic. I was going to ask, do you already have people chosen to who you would invite to be part of your band, or are you looking for anybody to join you?
No, we do have. Our drummer, we know. We're just once he's ready to go, which he is after seeing him this weekend, he's ready to go. So we're hoping to go Thursday, and then a drummer and bass player are very. They're the heart and soul of your band. Mm-hmm. So they keep the rhythm, and the sound. That's really what makes a big impact on a band is your drummer and bass player. They're almost like the battery. Like if I use a baseball analogy, I was a catcher, and then my pitcher and I are the battery, and we make things happen in the field behind our team is the rest of the team that makes all the goods happen. But you have your battery, and the drummer and the bass player is your battery. So we've told him, like, anybody you want to bring, we'll trust you. It's up to you. So
wow.
So once we figure that out, then we'll go. But,
Good. I like the analogy.
yeah.
That's a good one.
If I explained it well enough.
Yeah.
You're better at analogies and metaphors than I am.
Sometimes. So now this might be premature, but have you chosen a name for the band?
I think, and they've mentioned it as well, it'd be Frank Ruvoli Band.
Okay.
And I know it's kind of, as me being a Dave Matthews fan, that's kind of, you might think I steal it from that, but the only reason is because I've done a lot of marketing as Frank Ruvoli. And even when Brian comes and plays with me, it's kind of always like Frank Ruvoli and Brian Mundy, things like that. So they've mentioned, like, we just we're ready to play, and they've said, you've got something, we want to be with you, and I think they're cool with Frank Ruvoli Band. At least they said they are.
Well, I think in your gut if it resonates when you say it, if it feels right. And when you say marketing, I think my head goes to branding. You've branded yourself. So
yes.
You've gotten that accomplished, and that's a fantastic thing, and you've created a name for yourself. And I love that you're going to name it your name.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense. And kind of what I know, and I do some coaching with people, is that when they consider doing another entrepreneurial project or even their first, that there's something about putting a name on it that actually starts it going.
Yeah.
And kind of puts the pedal to the metal a little bit quicker than if you don't. And if you say, well, I'll name it later, or I just don't know, kind of taking that step is a huge thing. So it sounds like you've got to get that part accomplished.
Yeah.
And then any idea what type of music you guys are going to focus on?
Yeah, it would be all my originals and stuff. So that's kind of goes back to the name. I've already released 2 CDs just on my own under Frank Ruvoli. And so, we'd be playing those songs, and then there's a lot of other songs that I've written that we've kind of jammed around with. Our drummers, he's been on that, who we're going to be with. So it's really all originals that, I probably have 50 to 60 originals, and I've only released commercially 11 or 12 of them. So, yeah, so there's a lot. So I think that just kind of goes back to, why we would stay with that branding.
Yeah,
and move forward. I would love to, of course, it's not going to just be me. Of course, once we all get together, I'm an open book. Anybody wants to input, and that's what makes the music better. Even that's one of the things I say, and Brian and I talk about, Brian Mundy, who's my lead guitarist, we talk about, we love playing together because, you play solo and there's really no, other than playing, your own songs, like this is great, but then when you go and you play, 3 hours and you maybe get an hour of your own music, and then you've got to play the 2 hours of covers to really keep the people in the restaurant and bar happy. You're almost playing like a robot is what we call it. But when him and I can play together, I'll be playing, and even if we're doing a cover and original, we'll start mixing stuff up, and we do it more when it's originals because people don't know. So we'll go crazy and start doing all kinds of different stuff. But it's almost a show in myself. I get to watch him do lead guitar that I've never heard before over an original song, or if he starts playing around with a new, with a cover. It's really exciting. So it's a show for me, and then it's a show for him too. If I try to lead, I'm not a lead guitarist, but he'll give me the nod sometimes, and because that's how we communicate. We communicate doing this. That's when it's time to go. Let's go.
Right.
Next part, and I'll try to lead. He'll either mess up big time or but it's fun. It's fun for both of us. And the cool thing about Brian and I is that maybe it's a good thing, maybe it's not, but we don't practice among the two of us. We show up and we play. He knows my songs, and he's good at just picking stuff up and playing lead. So it makes it more exciting as well, because we don't have anything where it's like, all right, Brian's gonna do this exact same lead every time over this exact same part. If we feel it, we'll go with it. If he wants to lead, he'll lead. And we'll extend endings to songs, which we just did on one of the songs on Friday, and we were like, we got to keep doing that more often. So it's back to playing with him, back to playing with the band. It's more fun, and I encourage outside ideas because that's what makes everything better.
Well, in my view, going with that whole organic approach is where you get the most value.
Yeah.
You get the gifts. You get the little nuggets of gold that that you weren't even looking to mine for.
Right.
There they are.
Right.
Yeah, completely agree with that. So do you think that you'll be actually booked out and got some gigs on the books then by the end of 2018?
For the band?
Yeah, the band.
I believe so. Yeah,
I believe that too.
yeah. It's a great group of guys, and all of them have music knowledge of, how to get going and stuff like that. And especially, I'm looking forward to. Well, Brian knows he's played in a few bands, but the drummer, who I don't want to mention just because if it doesn't work out, I don't want to put him on a spot because he's a great dude. He's a friend of ours. But I can almost 99% guarantee you it's going to work out, and you're going to have a couple band shows here coming up in the next couple months. But him and then the bass player that he mentioned that he wants, they've been in great bands. They've toured. They've done it all. They've gotten out of here. Have gone down to all different states and stuff like that. So bringing their knowledge in on that side, I'm really excited about just to have that as well.
I love that.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. Well, do you think that you're going to be starting out in places that you already are doing what you're doing, or are you going to try to get to different venues?
We'll start around here for sure. Definitely because I think something that we talked about, something that I've heard numerous times is, Frank, your songs are great, they're catchy.
Yeah.
If you had a band, it would explode. So I've heard that, and so I'm excited. And we said, once we get something down pat, even if we just get an hour and a half, we could always do. Brian and I could start off acoustically for an hour or something. If it was a 3-hour, everything's usually typically 3-hour show when they hire artists around here. Even if we did an hour and 15 of acoustic music, and then the last part of the night was, we take a break, set up the band, and then it's like a 2-set kind of thing.
Yeah.
We would do that. But yeah, start getting out there, and we'd want, again, another reason we want to stay local is because those people who have been so supportive, I'd like them to hear it around here first, and kind of just get that experience, and then get their feedback. Really,
Well, and I think it's going to be a gift to the venue as well.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Hope so.
Yeah, I think so. And I think I love your music, and yeah, it's catchy and things like that. But I think you bring a certain energy and a certain resonance to the whole picture, and
Thank
that's
you.
what probably makes it so wonderful. Can you do another tune for us?
Sure. Yeah. Let's see. What shall I do? I'm gonna do.
What's the first song that you wrote?
Good question. I don't even think I played that one because it was so bad.
Okay.
But it was good. You got to start knocking them out.
Right.
And get the
What's
good
the
stuff out
last
of it.
song you wrote?
The last song I wrote. I don't know. I got a few songs that I've been playing with, but they're incomplete.
Oh.
So
You're
I'll
welcome.
finish them.
You're welcome to throw that out there. We'll take it.
Actually, I'm going to play a song called Dreamers. That's the title track of my last release. And the reason I want to play that is because when you and I talked over coffee and we talked today, I always feel like we're always going towards a big dream.
Yeah.
You give that vibe to me, Terry.
Thanks.
Very, very inspirational. That's the vibe you give.
Happy to oblige.
So this is called Dreamers, and it's just about that. It's about looking forward when you're young, and then when you're old, you almost look back. That's what the verses are, and you'll hear that. And I can talk about it after I say the words, but the chorus is just about living your dream, because really that's what makes life worthwhile. So. Wanna
way that ended.
Thank you.
Yeah, I enjoyed
Appreciate
that.
it.
Thank you everyone who's tuning in. You're listening to WVLP 103.1 FM. Also live streaming at WVLP.org. Today we have the opportunity and the gift to have Mr. Frank Ruvoli in our studio, giving us some of his original tunes and a lot of background as to who he is and what he's up to. Fascinating, fabulous stuff. It's going to be pretty exciting to see what the next 4 years bring, as he's told us he's on a 4-year cycle. So
I like to think so.
To launch into something different. I kind of was thinking as you were playing the song, of course, it makes you think about expanding personally and then also what you see in others. Thought that came to mind. I don't know if you've ever thought about it, but what about creating a music festival?
I have thought about that.
Of course you have. Have you doodled it? Because you say you do things visually.
Yeah, it's called. I'll tell you what it's called. It's called Fire Tree Fest. To go off Fire Tree Records.
I like it.
And I even have a friend of mine, and I'll give her a shout out because she's a great local artist as well. Michelle Velez, and I always say her last name wrong. Of course, she tells me I pronounce it incorrectly.
Oh.
But I say Michelle Velez. Might be Velez. Michelle, sorry, I know you're gonna make fun of me again on Wednesday when I see you, but I always say Michelle Velez. She comes out, and she'll come out and support me, and she supports other local artists. But when she comes out and I see her in the crowd, we always get her up to play some songs with us and sing with us. So beautiful voice. But she is an event organizer for one of the local towns, and she went to school for music events and promotions and things like that. So I've talked to her numerous times about teaming up and doing something like that and using her knowledge to make that really blow off the charts, because it would be fun. And I mean, it's another thing that's needed to be an actual music fest, not just a festival like a town fest, although those are great. I love those, and those are very supportive of the local artists too. But again, with the talent and the lineup that we could put together of all the artists that we have in the area, it would be a fantastic fest. So.
Well, and I think it's a fabulous idea, and kind of, when I think about it, I think of it kind of expanding a little bit beyond what our local footprint is. I see probably people coming in from outside of the area just because there's an opportunity to do it. I love that idea.
Thank you.
I love that idea. Do you have that calendared somewhere for yourself, like by a certain date you'd like to see that come?
Kind of, but I don't know if it's going to happen as of right now, just because. So my projected idea was at the end of, or basically September or early October, right before the weather breaks. This year is what I would hope for, but it might be something that gets put off till next year. It all just depends kind of how everything goes.
Right.
So.
Well, and we're going to defer to your friend, the promoter, because she has obviously all the experience in that, but my heart says if you want to launch this by Q3, end of Q3 2018, that it's probably something to get going, start promoting now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Get some tread and get your musicians lined up, get the excitement welling for it. I could see that could be a phenomenal thing to do.
Yeah.
And talk about tying in maybe that vision of creating a more of like a Nashville-ish kind of thing in Northwest Indiana, and bring us some more claim to fame than what we've had in the past. Woo! I just feel all of that stuff coming together. It's like, wow, is that going to accomplish some of that same end? So, love the name of the event. Love the name of the event. So, where did the name Fire Tree come from?
Good question. So, so it's kind of weird. Well, it's not weird, but it's a biblical reference, but not in any sense that it's meant to be a religious record label or any sense like that. If you remember the story of Moses going to see the burning bush, and that gave him his vision that he knew exactly what he was meant to do in life. Yeah. I was going to call it Burning Bush Records, but I thought Fire Tree Records sounded better. So it's actually the thought of how I never thought I'd be a musician and never even thought I'd be doing this, but in some way, shape, or form, it's actually what I've always meant to do. And so the Fire Tree Records is just that kind of reference to that story of how the fire in the bush, the burning bush was was how he knew what he was meant to do in life. It was kind of, this is what I was meant to do in life. So that's why I named it that.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I love that. I love that. And I have to agree with you. I have to think that, or tell you that this is what you're meant to do in life.
Thank you.
Without question. And I think that's probably what I got connected to when I saw you, and what other people get connected to, is that pure innate, this is it. Which is, fascinates me that you didn't have any rumblings of it when you were a little guy and coming along. but I understand, passion and love for baseball is driving your bus.
Yeah.
So what a great thing. But no, I think, no irony that there you were going, I've torn this part of my body, this is no longer my future, and what's it going to be? And you picked up a guitar.
Yeah.
And started moving and taught yourself to play guitar off of a YouTube video. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That's the first wow. Even a bigger one is that you create your own music. I mean, I'm sure you're not the only person who's learned to play an instrument off of YouTube, but to actually have that rolling is an amazing thing.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's awesome how it happened.
Yeah.
Like I said, and just learned off Chris Daughtry home, and from there just started using those chords and kept going, and then that's, like I said, how I became a Dave Matthews fan was when I started playing guitar, because I was told to learn a Dave Matthews cover, and I was like, all right, how hard can it be? And there were a few that I knew from when my sister used to listen to it when I was younger.
Yeah.
And I pulled them up, and I'm like, holy cow, this guy does not play traditional guitar. He's all over the place.
Right,
and then
right.
with the way he played guitar, the way he made songs, and the way he performed with just an acoustic guitar going up and down, that's where I really started to like Dave Matthews a lot, because when you go to open mics, you kind of see people maybe playing the same tempo, really worried about the way they sound, which is great. I understand that. But so at that point, one of the things I didn't think I sounded good, so I wanted to be more of an energetic performer. So that's where I started learning different chords up and down the fretboard, so I can kind of get crazy when I'm there. And if I don't hit a note well enough, because I was still kind of learning where my voice was, and I guess still really am. If you never really know, it just always gets better, it gets worse, whatever. But yeah, I really took pride in kind of the way he performed, and I tried to perform kind of like that. And then, if it all went together.
I love it. Yeah,
Thanks.
You're cut for it.
Thank you.
Without question. It'll be exciting to watch what's going on. What you're going to be creating in the future. I mean, you got the band coming. My goodness gracious, just so much going on with your record label. It's just going to be amazing. And I do think you are going to create, and you are going to be the impetus for a local music festival. I don't know. I think you got to figure out where that's going to be, and get with your gal and see how that all comes to fruition. And let's not lose touch, because when it comes time for launching both of those things, I'd love to be a part of that, supporting that conversation.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, any way that I
I
can.
appreciate it.
You're welcome. You're welcome. So I'm going to also give another station ID and thank our underwriter here. And I'd like to actually, once complete, if you can bring us out with a song, it'd be a
Sure.
phenomenal way to end a show today.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone. You're listening to WVLP 103.1 FM. Also streaming live at WVLP.org. Thank you to our show's sponsor. It is Ryan Everhart with Diamond Residential Mortgage. Don't assume that all mortgage companies are the same. They certainly aren't. And all loan professionals are not the same as well. Ryan has been a top producer for many, many years, and brings such a level of integrity and commitment to his customers that's so rare in the industry. Definitely give him a shout out. See what he and his team can bring to your experience purchasing a home or refinancing a home. Ryan's office is conveniently located on Route 30 at 350 Northland Drive in Valparaiso, and his direct phone line is area code 219-707-8429. I'm going to say thank you again, because we're going to end our time here with Frank giving us some musical contribution. Thank you, Frank.
Thanks, Terry. And thank you for having me on.
My pleasure.
Honored to meet you. Like I said when we talked, very inspirational person. You honestly are. So,
Likewise.
So thank you. I'm actually going to end with the first song off my release in 2016. It's called Shoe Corner, and it's about Shoe Corner in St. John.
I know where that is.
Awesome. And the cool thing about this song is it was a song that people really, as I said on Bill's show as well, I wanted to write a couple songs. I have another song called Wells Beach, about Wells Street Beach. I wanted to write songs that were going to really stick to the local people in the area who follow, like something that everybody can resonate to. And if the song ever picked up, it'd be cool to have kind of like a home landmark where if people started hearing about it, it's like, oh well, yeah, we live by there. So I thought it's a cool story about Shoe Corner. But then the also cool thing is that this was a song that the Times did an article on after I released my first CD, and they did a video, and it really blew up locally, so it was really cool. So I thank them for that. So this is Shoe Corner. I said, so take me down. Going on dreams we need to come true. If you just untie and close your eyes, we go to shoot for your shoes. So take me down. Going on dreams we need to come true. If you just untie and close your eyes, we go to shoot for your shoes. Home came this lady. Everybody called her Miss Me. She was down on time, but she was all that night just to bring on something. Five pairs of percent on one day, they fit just right, they shine that night, they got the eyes of a Prince Charming. I said, so take me down to going on dreams we need to come true. If you just untie and close your eyes, we can shoot for your shoes. So take me down to going on dreams we need to come true. If you just untie and close your eyes, we can shoot for your shoes. I said, so take me down. Going on dreams we need to come true. Just untie and close your eyes, we go to shoot for your shoes. So take me down. Going on dreams we need to come true. Just untie and close your eyes, we go to shoot for your shoes. I said, so take me down.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Frank, it's been an absolute honor and a privilege to have you today. I can't tell you how much gratitude I feel.
Thank you very much. It's been an honor and a privilege to be here with you.
Yeah, well, we'll have to play this game again.
Absolutely.
Let's do radio again. Thank you, everyone. Have a great day.